Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you 5 of the discontinued fragrances from my collection that just break my heart. These are fragrances that have either been discontinued into complete just you cannot find anywhere, or they've been reformulated, or there's newer concentrations of them and it's virtually impossible to find the older, better version. And these are just scents that I love. Now, I will have reviews of these guys, and if you want to have your hearts broken too, check out my reviews where I talk about how much I love them. But I do think discontinuations of fragrances are just something that happens. It makes sense. There's going to be curations where houses are going to, gonna have to get rid of things. Houses close. There's always new regulations with fragrances, so things will have to be reformatted over and over again. Some houses are greedy and are just looking for a cash grab and will discontinue things to reformulate them to charge more money. There's a variety of different reasons why some of my favorite fragrances are gone, and I'm going to share with you guys my thoughts and opinions on these 5 fragrances, which I love so much. So let's get into the video. There will be reviews if you want to check out my previous reviews of these fragrances. I think I have reviews of most of them. And in a lot of previous videos where I talk about scents that are worth checking out or this scent's amazing, a lot of these fragrances have topped a lot of my favorite lists. And I'm trying not to include discontinued fragrances because they are so hard to find, or they are ridiculously expensive compared to what they used to be priced at. So I'm going to try and not have these guys as part of lists, but these are exceptionally amazing fragrances, like exceptional fragrances. The first one we're going to talk about is one of my most favorite fragrances ever, and if you're familiar with my channel, you know what I'm talking about. That's right, here we go, Chanel Sycomore, the Eau de Toilette, not the Eau de Parfum. Now, the Eau de Toilette to me is one of the best, if not the best, like vetiver dominated scents ever. And there's some other amazingly beautiful vetiver scents out there. You have obviously Encore Noir and its amazing flankers. And Agua de Parma's Note de Colonia 2 is beautiful. And I need to get my hands on Roja's vetiver. It's just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love that one so much. I love vetiver. Not everybody likes it. It's one of those notes that can be very polarizing when it is very dominant. And for me, vetiver has a lot of unique characteristics that I am obsessed with. I love earthy fragrances. I love dry fragrances. I love damp, moist fragrances. I love vegetal fragrances. Vetiver has this opportunity to be all the above. And a lot of times when it's utilized in fragrances and compositions, it's either grassy and dry, like green, damp, earthy, and moist. But the beauty with the Eau de Toilette version of Sycomore is it really is the perfect interpretation of all the above, all the distinctive characteristics that vetiver has. It is so beautifully just presented in Sycomore, the Eau de Toilette. Now, when Chanel changed over from the Eau de Toilette to the Eau de Parfum, there was rightfully a ruckus. A lot of people were calling it a cash grab because not only were they changing concentrations, they were completely butchering a lot of beloved formulations. So there was a big hubbub, and Sycomore was one of the fragrances that caused a lot of just hubbub. Now, I got really lucky where I went to a Chanel boutique and I was looking for Eau de Toilette formulas, and this was as they were sending back the bottles to Chanel, and the SA was like, we haven't packed up our shipment yet. Let me go in the back and see what we have. And they had 1 bottle of Sycomore left, and I was like, gimme, give me that right now. If they had 5, I probably would have bought them all. So Sycomore, the Eau de Parfum version to me isn't super upsetting because you do get all the beautiful characteristics of this gorgeous note, except it takes a very long time for that to develop on your skin. So within like the first 15 to 20 minutes of the dry down of Sycomore Eau de Toilette, you get just vetiver in all of its gorgeous glory. And it takes probably, I'd say 3 to 4 hours at least for the beauty and the complexity and the gorgeous nuances that Sycomore Eau de Toilette has to be fully realized on my skin with the Eau de Parfum. It just takes a lot longer. It's not even 100% the same as the Eau de Toilette, but it's close enough where I've considered purchasing a smaller bottle of the Eau de Parfum in order to be able to wear it when I want to smell that way without having to dip into my Eau de Toilette. So I'm very mindful of this fragrance and one or two others in regards to, I pretty much have no problem sharing fragrances, swapping decants, selling decants from my collection. However, I am a very hard no on 2 to 3 fragrances just because I am so protective of them. And Sycomore is one of those fragrances, and I've had people very mad at me about that, but that's just how I am. So this is the top of my list because this is one of them that hurts the most, but all of these sting pretty bad. This next fragrance is one that I love. I wish I had the opportunity to try other fragrances from this house. It's been discontinued a few years ago. Had I known, I would have bought so many backups of this bottle. It is unbelievably stunning. I wear this one a lot. I rarely wear this one now, and it's Tiempe Passate from Antonia's Flowers. This is one of the other fragrances that I won't share decants or swap. I think the only time I would share a decant of this if somebody were to swap me another decant of another fragrance from Antonia's Flowers. Tiempe Passate to me is one of the most beautiful fragrances ever created. It's glamorous, it's mature, it's sophisticated, it's sexy, and it's timeless. I viciously love this fragrance, and I was very lucky to stumble on a bottle of this. Now the thing is this bottle, when you purchased it, I believe was around $170. If you want to purchase a bottle now, partial bottles goes for about $500 to $600 if it's about 75% full. Full bottles can go upwards to $1,000. So I have considered purchasing backup bottles of this for $1,000, but I just keep telling myself that is a lot of money. Is still a huge reasons why I haven't purchased this. I have considered purchasing every single sample vial I find and just over the course of time getting this much. I've considered that over buying an actual bottle because it would be easy to refill that, but I would be more worried about evaporation than anything else. Tiempe Passate is a beautiful fragrance, and Antonia's Flowers, everything I hear about that house has just been like so much praise for the line, and if it's anything remotely similar to the quality of Tiempe Passate, I feel like I just missed out on some gorgeous, gorgeous fragrances. So that one is another one that breaks my heart. This next house is one of my favorites, and I've had conversations, and I'm gonna have more conversations about this. It's gonna be a continuing conversation, I feel, and it's Maison Lancome. They have had some of the most beautiful fragrances, but they are so quick to discontinue things, and they've discontinued some of the most beautiful fragrances, and then they bring in some lackluster scents in comparison to the ones that they discontinued, because the ones that they bring in are pretty, but they don't have the same just like beauty and uniqueness that the ones that they discontinued have. I think if I had to look at all the fragrances that were discontinued by Maison Lancome, I think this is the one that upsets me the most, and it's Lavande Trianon. Now the reason why this one upsets me is what Lancome does with gourmands, or what they did with gourmands, because I don't think I've smelled much recently in regards to what they did before, is they have this unique ability to create some beautiful gourmands centering around florals in a way that just has so much power and beauty and uniqueness and wearability. And Jasmine's Marzipan is just beyond stunning. Oud Bouquet is probably one of my most complimented fragrances. I love the tuberose. I mean, just beautiful. But one of my favorite ways to smell is like powdery florals and sweet. I love aromatic florals and sweetness. So think violet or iris. One of my favorite fragrances is Iris Ganache. That's like my unicorn scent. What I love about Lavande Trianon is lavender is one of those fragrances that can, kind of like vetiver, it can smell different ways depending on the quality and the composition. Lavender can smell medicinal, lavender can smell kind of calming, aromatic, sort of aromatherapy-esque, a little bit more herbally. botanical, I would say. And then you can have more of a culinary lavender, which is sweeter and creamier. And what I like about Lavande Trianon is it's a blend between botanical and culinary, but it has like a soft powdery sweetness to it without being sweet. It smells like a cookie that was dipped in milk and you eat it and it's just delicious. It's such a fantastic fragrance. And it was so unique because a lot of times when I see people actually doing more of these aromatic floral gourmand fragrances, it's focusing heavy on violet and iris, which I love, but lavender was such a unique take because this fragrance is sweet and creamy without being crazy lactonic. It was slightly powdery, and it's just such a gorgeous fragrance and so unique and so well done and so unique to this type of fragrance, and a perfect fragrance that fit effortlessly into Maison Lancome's lineup. Being unique, being special, being standalone. And it might not have been the best seller, but I see them discontinuing all these fragrances and bringing in fragrances that smell lackluster. They don't have the uniqueness and the presence that these do. Like the fig and citrus is a great fig and citrus, but I've smelled it before. The Magnolia Rosé, beautiful fragrance. Smells like Rose's Parfum and Rose Barbarenza. It smells like a flanker, you know? Like I need something that has this beauty, like Oud Bouquet, like Jasmine's Marzipan, you know? And it's sad that Lancome just curates and cuts and axes all of these amazing fragrances and doesn't seem to be bringing in new ones. And I know that they're bringing in a new jasmine, and I considered purchasing it from Selfridges, but I've decided not to because I'm kind of angry at Maison Lancome, so I'm gonna wait till it's in the States, unless I change my mind, which happens too. But I swear, if they discontinue this Jasmine's Marzipan, I will raise a ruckus. And you have not seen me raise a ruckus. It is embarrassing for me and everybody who is within a 10-foot radius of me because people think just what is wrong with her. But like Lavande Trianon, there was no need to discontinue this fragrance. There's no need. There was nothing in Lancome's lineup that was similar to this. And I don't smell that many fragrances that have the lavender heart, that have this beautiful powdery aromatic sweetness to it. It's just, I feel offended pretty much. One has topped so many different lists of mine. It is just a beautiful fragrance. It smells sexy. It's powerful. I don't understand why it's been discontinued because I feel like every other flanker from this house just kind of pops back up or just stays a lot longer than it should. And this one is so different from all the others that I just feel like it would be better staying longer. And it's Rose Explosion. It's the flanker to Flowerbomb from Viktor&Rolf. It's just a beautiful, very sexy DNA, that gorgeous kind of approachable but very unique floral DNA that Flowerbomb has, while having some gorgeous rose and some beautiful spicy saffron. It's just a very special fragrance that a lot of people kind of slipped on until they actually like tried it, and then it was like too late and everyone's like, where did that fragrance go? Now I will say, out of all the fragrances in this list, this one's a little bit easier to find. Sometimes you'll find a bottle pop up on eBay, sometimes you'll find it on, you know, Poshmark, trades that you might be able to find this way more readily than the other ones, and not for a crazy price, kind of like how Antonia's Flowers $170 bottle goes for like $600 to $1,000. I think you might pay, you know, like between like $150 and $250 for this. That is a lot of money for a fragrance, but just the way that this fragrance smells and performs, even priced higher than it originally was, I don't think that for the quality of this fragrance, it's that much of an overpriced, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I would happily, if I found another bottle of this for like $250, pay for it. I don't wear this nearly as much because it's discontinued, but it is such a good scent. Now this composition is definitely something that has been smelled before. It's not new, but the way that this fragrance smells and performs, and it's just its uniqueness with that beautiful Flowerbomb DNA. If you have an opportunity to pick up a bottle of this and you like spicy, rose, floral, very sexy fragrances, this is a fantastic one to get your hands on. Last and certainly not least, this was a blind buy. I could easily have never smelled this fragrance, but I was being silly and decided to randomly buy this fragrance one day when I was at Neiman Marcus. I was talking with my friend Larry, who was a sales associate there, and they would get returns from like online returns. And sometimes he'd be like, hey, what's this? And we would want to both smell it, and I would buy it so we could smell it. I think there was like a handful of fragrances that I did that way, at least 3 or 4. And this one was like immediately I smelled it and I was like, ooh, yes, I love this. This is amazing. And it's from Roja, and it's Kingdom of Bahrain. Now, I think not all of the fragrances from this lineup were discontinued, but this one is the one that upset me the most, because this one is one of my favorite fragrances. So one of the things I love about Roja fragrances is not the price. They're expensive. I paid $550 for this. So one of the things I like about Roja is that their fragrances don't smell unique, but they smell elevated, like the best version of a composition that you should smell. So I don't expect unique ingenuity and creativity from Roja, but I dang well better smell the best of the best in regards to composition. And what I love about Kingdom of Bahrain is that there's something so approachable about this fragrance, but also something that smells so elevated. It's a very delicate but very complex fragrance. So I kind of describe it to dumb it down for you guys, because you know I'm not very eloquent when it comes down to really describing fragrances. It smells like a lemon cookie, but it smells like the type of lemon cookie you'd get from a bakery and you'd spend $65 on per cookie. And you'd be like, why did I spend that much? And then you'd bite into it and you'd be like, that's why. There is so much little nuances in this. It's slightly spicy, it's slightly sweet, it's prickly on your nose, but it's also just sugary and rich and dark and light and effervescent. It has so much in it, but it smells so effortless. And that's what I want from Roja, because it doesn't just smell effortless, it smells expensive. And I'm working on a video. I'm trying to figure out the best examples and references for talking about what I mean luxurious and expensive smells like. Because it's not just the ingredients, it's the quality of the ingredients. It's also how those ingredients are blended together. So it's not just the formula of mixing everything together, it's the quality, the concentration. It's a lot of different things. It's again kind of looking at, you know, the ingredients for one lemon cookie that you might spend $1.50 on, you know, at your grocery store, and then $65 on at this artisanal, like artisanal, as I use the same words over and over again, like luxury patissier. And like you are scoffing at the price until you experience it, and then you're like, that I understand. That's what Kingdom of Bahrain is for me. And in my personal opinion, of all the Roja fragrances, it's one that elicits the most emotion out of me in regards to, I love this fragrance so much and I want to wear it. It's just so good. Now, Amber Oud does it too. And 51 Parfum is another one that's becoming a real favorite of mine. And the Vetiver is also gorgeous, and I need to add that to my collection. But there is something about Kingdom of Bahrain that I just find to be so perfect, and just it's so sad that it's going away, because I haven't really smelled too many things like this from the House of Roja, and I think that it was just unique enough that it probably could have stayed and been part of the family and shouldn't have been axed. But that's just my personal opinion. Discontinued fragrances is something that's really just a tragedy. It's sad, but it is unfortunately like I understand. With new formulations, with new regulations, with new perfumers coming into houses and wanting to have their stamp on the line, I understand needing to keep lines fresh, curate them, out with the old, in with the new. You can't really hold on to everything. Maybe you can't keep a house open because it's time to move on. Like, there are so many different reasons for fragrances to be discontinued, and I completely understand. Although my heart breaks for these fragrances, I think the two that upset me the most has to be Chanel's Sycomore, because I don't think that Chanel needed to completely axe the Eau de Toilette versions. I think that they could have had the Eau de Parfum versions with the Eau de Toilette. I think they could have done that no problem. But they didn't, and that's the problem that I have. Now, I don't know too much about the entire situation about the eau de toilette to the eau de parfum of these fragrances from Chanel, but whenever I talk about Chanel fragrances, I always say, if you really want the best explanation, the best resource for Chanel fragrances, especially when it comes down to their perfumes and the history, go to Super Jacob's channel. Really the best resource when it comes down to Chanel fragrances. He really goes in depth. He has a lot of knowledge. He's super passionate about it, and he'll is just such a great resource, especially for Chanel fragrances. So I would definitely recommend checking out his channel if you want to know more. But I feel like Chanel didn't need to get rid of the eau de toilettes. I think they could have added in the eau de parfums, or maybe kind of phased them out, like had a year or two where people could see, you know, which one they wanted. I feel like it's more gimmicky and more of a money grab than anything else. And then the other one that really just upsets me, and again, like I said, if you want me to sit down and just yabber at you guys for like 3 hours about my anger over this, just the way that Lancome has been axing fragrances from this line, and how they're not really adding things that have the same impact as what they're removing. And they don't need to remove what they're removing, and I feel like they're removing them so quickly. Like, I don't know. The other ones I understand, I might not agree with, but I understand. But these two specifically hit hard because I just think it's more unnecessary than anything else. But that is my opinion, not being affiliated with those houses or understanding how they do what they do. But I figured I would share with you guys and chat with you guys about the 5 fragrances from my collection that are discontinued that just break my heart. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I will link any reviews I have of these fragrances below so you can understand how much I love them. What fragrances do you own that are you super just upset about or miss desperately that were discontinued? What are your thoughts on houses like Chanel and Lancome doing what they do? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to have this be a conversation. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye.